Hello, I'm Lucy from In the Midst of Madness, and today I wanted to talk about insomnia and mental health. So before I get started, can I just please request that people don't give me a whole heap of advice and suggestions in the comments. I have had insomnia since I was 12, and that's 15 years, and I've tried basically everything, at least everything I'm willing to try, and suffice to say most of it doesn't work for me, but yeah, this video isn't about kind of fixing the problem. It's that I really want to be able to explain about the impact that insomnia has on mental health, and so yeah, I'm not really looking for solutions, please. So yeah, as I say, I've had insomnia since I was 12, and actually when I was, I think, 17 or 18, I got diagnosed with a condition called delayed sleep phase syndrome, and basically it means that my body clock is shifted all the time, and so where normal people would sort of go to sleep at, I don't know, 10 or 11 in the evening and be up at sort of 7 or 8 in the morning, my natural body clock is not like that. So most people have a roughly 24-hour body clock, which is really convenient, bearing in mind we live with a 24-hour clock and time period. But that's not the case for all of us. So what I've worked out over the years is that mine is actually more like a 30-hour clock. And if I were left completely to my own devices and I didn't have actual clocks and I didn't have sort of time pressures or anything like that, I would naturally sleep for about 10 hours and then be awake for 20. So when I'm forced to fit into a 24-hour clock, I really struggle. And one of the ways in which that happens is because my sleep is shifted, and so I naturally go to sleep, it varies, but between about 2:30 and 4 in the morning, which then means that naturally I wake up at about midday, which, as you can imagine, was ideal for school and college and work, and it means that I'm constantly tired. So, as I say, I'm always trying to kind of fit this natural 30-hour clock into a 24-hour time frame, which has never worked for me. And actually, the time in my life where my sleep was best was when I was working as a nursing assistant, and I worked night shifts. So I only actually got 6 nights of sleep a week, and sometimes those were during the day and sometimes they were at night, depending on whether I was working or not. And so generally I did 3 or 4 night shifts a week in a row, where I would then sleep during the day between 10 AM and 6 PM, and then I'd be working overnight for just under 11 hours, but I'd be out for 13 because of my commute, and that worked brilliantly because I would have to stay up as long as I possibly could the night before I did a night shift, and then once I'd finished my last night shift I would stay up all day and then go to bed at sort of 10:30, 11ish in the evening. And I've always been very, very good at keeping myself awake, so I can pull all-nighters like it's nobody's business. It's not a struggle for me, it never has been, because again, my body naturally wants to be on a 30-hour cycle. And yeah, that was really handy when I was doing my dissertation, and I think I stayed awake for very nearly 60 hours before finishing that. Don't worry, I didn't write the whole thing in 60 hours, that would have been insane. But when I was finishing it off and editing it and all of that, yeah, I was awake for very nearly 60 hours, and actually fell asleep at my desk sitting up, which was very weird because I've never done that before. I've often fallen asleep at my desk with like my hand like this, or my head on the desk or something, but I literally fell asleep sat up in a chair. So that was a whole new level of tired. But yeah, as I mentioned in my last video, I've been having a real issue with insomnia recently. So mine very much comes in waves. Like, I never sleep well, and because I have ME, I always wake up tired, and actually I usually wake up feeling worse than I did when I went to bed. And for me, there's a huge difference between being tired and being sleepy, and my body doesn't really do sleepy most of the time, but it does do permanently exhausted and fatigued and all of the other types of tired apart from sleepy. So yeah, for the last, I don't actually know how long, I've kind of lost count, and I'm getting quite disorientated because of the insomnia, but I think it's probably about 2 months now. I am consistently unable to sleep, so I can't get to sleep and I can't stay asleep, which is a much sort of newer problem for me. That very rarely happens. So I've always struggled to get to sleep at a normal time. I've tried various different medications over the years, most of which don't work on me at all. One of which does, and is now no longer able to be got hold of easily in the UK, but I'm hoping to get some from America soon, because it's the only thing that works, and I can tell that it's what I need to be taking at the moment to kickstart my body into realising that I should be going to sleep and then staying asleep. But yeah, at the moment I am, well, last night for example I went to sleep at I think 3:30, and then randomly woke up at 9:45, and my alarm goes off at 10 because I can't bear getting up any earlier than that, because I'm getting under 7 hours sleep almost every night now. So I'm trying to be really good and not sleep during the day, so that I have more of a chance of being sleepy at night. But at the moment, probably every third or fourth night I'll go to sleep at a relatively decent time, like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then sleep through until my alarm at 10, and that's great. And then I get more nights of not going to sleep, not staying asleep, waking up for hours in the middle of the night, just completely wired, just awake, and not really knowing what to do with myself. And I really have tried everything. I won't list it all here, but I'm doing everything I can to try different things, and to do what all of the research says works. And at the moment it's not working, and I am really tired. So the reason I'm doing the video is to then talk to you about the impact it has on mental health. And I'm pretty good at coping with not enough sleep. I'm very practiced at it, and a lot of the people around me say that I'm very good at functioning off nowhere near enough sleep. But I've really noticed in the last 2 weeks that I'm really flagging. So my concentration is way off. And I just can't focus on things properly. My memory's really affected. But more than that, I'm starting to have personality changes. Now I know these aren't permanent, but they're always really, really disconcerting, because it almost kind of feels like your mind has been taken over, and like you're not in control anymore. So normally I'm quite a kind of tolerant person. I take things in my stride, much as I get very anxious about a lot of stuff. Like I'm quite an accepting and tolerant person, and I'm really, really noticing that that is no longer the case, because to be honest, I'm waking up so tired that I'm done with the day before I've even started. Like before I've even got out of bed, I'm ready to go back to bed and go back to sleep, because I am so utterly exhausted, and I'm just in a bad mood all the time, which again really isn't like me. I'm getting really snappy. I've just had enough, and so as soon as something happens that I'm not expecting, or that is irritating in some way, I've just had enough, and I just don't really know what to do, and then I snap or I shout, and it's horrible, and I feel really sorry for the people around me. I keep having to apologise, which again is not something I'm very used to doing, because I don't normally need to. But yeah, I'm just really noticing that I'm really grouchy, and things are just bothering me so much. So like, this will sound so silly, but about 3 days ago there was an offer on a photo printing website, and I had a day to order the products that I needed, and my internet kept dying, and I don't mean like once or twice, I mean it was off more than it was on, but it kept not telling me it was off, so I'd be uploading photos and then it would fail, and it was like, oh right, okay, and it takes ages to upload these photos because they're big files, and it was just utterly infuriating. And normally I am really patient, and I just get on and I do what I need to do, and if it takes multiple attempts, I do the multiple attempts. But after over an hour of this, it was just doing my head in. And I was actually starting to feel like violent, and I am not a remotely violent person. Like, I'm just not. I can't remember the last time I even had a fleeting thought of wanting to hit someone or something. It's just not in me. I can't stand violence. And I actually had to stop uploading the photos because I was getting so utterly fed up that I was wanting to throw the laptop across the room, which obviously is completely pointless and ridiculous, and I would never do it. But it really was like, I've got to stop doing this, I need to put this away, and go back to it, because I was trying to upload 50 photos and it was failing every single time, and so I had to do them one at a time. So you can imagine how long this was all taking, especially when the internet was in and out. But yeah, normally, like when people say, oh, I'm just done with this, I want to throw it, I just kind of think, like, that's so ridiculous, it's a thing, like, don't be ridiculous. But that was how I was feeling, and I'm never ever like this, and I know it's because I am so tired, and my capacity to tolerate is just gone. And yeah, I've noticed so much of that, and it's making me really unhappy, because I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this grumpy, snappy person, because it must be horrible to be around. It's certainly horrible being that person, because I don't think like that. That's not me at all. But I'm just so drained. And it's also making me really emotional, so I'm not someone who cries much at all. Like, if I can possibly help it, I don't cry. I hate it, it gives me headaches, I don't find it cathartic. I cry when I have to, and I stop as soon as I can. And I've, again, noticed the last few days that I'm much closer to crying than I ever normally am. Like, even talking about this, I'm noticing that actually I could quite easily cry right now. And I need to avoid videos of puppies, and kittens and things like that, because I will just cry, because I've just got no reserves, and like, dealing with the mental illnesses on their own is not easy at all, but then when you add in sleep deprivation as well, you've just got this whole new level of feeling awful. Because it makes it so much harder to cope with everything. I'm more on edge, I'm more shaky, I'm dropping things because I don't have enough energy now. And so my hands shake more, and then I drop stuff, and then I get more frustrated, and then I feel like throwing things if I've not dropped them already. And just the whole thing is now kind of cycling. And it's also getting to the point where I'm kind of dreading going to bed, because I know it's going to be horrible. I know I'm not going to sleep. And I'm trying so hard to just ignore that and just think, no, it's fine, I'm going to go to bed and I will sleep. And then I don't. But I'm trying really hard to hold on to not dreading it, because that's just a really bad route to go down. But I think a lot of people are quite dismissive of insomnia, because, like, things could be so much worse. But don't forget, sleep deprivation is used as a torture, and it does feel like you're being tortured. Like, my mind is definitely not as collected or making anything like as much sense as it normally does. And I have no idea how coherent this is. Probably it's fine, because it often is, and I never feel like it is. But it does feel in my head like I'm struggling to kind of even tread water, when I'm trying to think of things and communicate and explain what this is like, because I'm just tired. I just want to go to sleep, and I can't. And if I then do, I'm then waking up, or I'm having nightmares, and I have no idea why this just happens. It's particularly bad at the moment. I've had one phase where it was worse than this, and that was when I was 16, and it was a few months into having depression, and I pretty much stopped sleeping. I think I was getting 2.5 hours sleep a night, and that lasted about 2 weeks, and I was I don't even remember most of it. I do remember being, because I was at school at the time, and I remember walking around and I was so detached from my body, from my head, from everything, from everyone. It felt like I was sort of walking around with this bubble. I couldn't hear properly, I couldn't see properly, I was hallucinating, I was hearing things, I was getting paranoid. And I don't suffer from paranoia, I don't have any sort of psychotic symptoms. But that was as close as I've ever got to starting to suffer from psychosis. Because I was just so utterly detached from reality. And in fact, it actually got to the point where I felt more real and more in reality when I was asleep and dreaming than during the day. And it all kind of came to a head where I remember having been asleep for about 2 hours, and I woke up at, I think, 4:30 in the morning, and I just couldn't be in my house anymore. And so essentially I ran away, and like, I was never planning on staying away. I couldn't deal with being in the house anymore. Like, my family were asleep, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And again, I don't remember it very well, but I remember packing all of my school stuff, my school uniform, my school books, into my rucksack, and walking to the beach, which was about a 40-minute walk, and just sitting there, and I watched the sunrise, and I was just waiting to go to school because I just couldn't be in my house anymore. And actually it turned out that I didn't end up going to school because my mum came to find me, and it turned out that I'd been excluded from school. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm not being big-headed here, I was a model student growing up. I've never done anything kind of naughty in my life. I am a really boring goody two-shoes. And I had had a bit of a breakdown earlier that week in front of a teacher, because my depression was really bad, and I wasn't coping. I didn't want to be at home, I didn't really want to live anymore. I was really, really, really ill. And yeah, I completely fell apart in front of this teacher, who it then turned out had to go off sick. And basically the school said that they didn't know how to kind of manage my behaviour. Not that I knew how to manage my condition, which was why I was behaving that way. It wasn't me being naughty or acting up or attention seeking or anything. It was just, I just wasn't coping. But yeah, it turned out that I don't remember what the word was, I can't remember if I was suspended or excluded, but I wasn't allowed to go to class. And it was right at the end of year 11, right before my GCSEs. And it actually looked like I was going to end up not being allowed to go to my prom or my leavers service, or anything at all, because they didn't know how to manage my behaviour. And luckily we managed to get that sorted out, so actually it turned out that I was only off school for a week. But it was horrible, and it was so humiliating, and for someone who has never had a detention in their life, it was really difficult, because I felt like I was being punished for being ill. Because I wasn't being bad, I wasn't doing anything wrong, I just wasn't coping, and unfortunately that triggered a teacher, which wasn't my fault and it wasn't my intention. But yeah, sleep deprivation really does take you to some really awful places, and so every time the insomnia sort of kicks in again, I'm always aware of how bad it can get, and bearing in mind I'm not really allowed to take medication, and most of them don't work on me. I'm very limited as to what I can take that helps, and all of the natural stuff just doesn't work. When your mind is as active as mine now is, and it's fighting so hard that it's actually waking me up from sleep and stopping me staying asleep, then having a warm glass of milk or a hot bath or reading a book it just doesn't touch it. And so yeah, my mental health is currently being quite affected, and I mean I'm keeping an eye on it, and I will speak to my doctor if it gets any worse, because I don't want to let my other conditions get worse because of this. But yeah, I think sleep deprivation has a really profound effect on your sense of wellness. Like, I just feel rubbish all the time. And it's making me crave different food, so I can feel that I'm starting to crave more carbohydrates and sugar, because my body just wants some energy from something. I don't think it cares what anymore. Because normally I don't crave sweet stuff really, but I have noticed that the past sort of week or two I'm really starting to crave carbs and sugar, which I'm not giving into, and I'm trying to have lots of fluids and all of the good things. But yeah, I think mental health is greatly impacted by sleep, or lack of, and it is so important to try and get good sleep if you can. But yeah, insomnia is often kind of laughed off by people because at some point we've all struggled to go to sleep, and so I think it's something that everyone can at least partially identify with, but it's so different when you've then got mental illness on top, because it does just make everything harder to deal with, and you struggle to sort of make sense of things and to see what's real and what's not, and you do start sometimes getting scary symptoms. Like I do hallucinate when I'm tired. I see things moving that aren't, and I'm very used to that now. It's been a lot of years that it's been happening, but it's quite frightening, and it's also horrible because I'm absolutely terrified of spiders, and it's always stuff on the floor. And usually it's fluff, or sometimes it's just not there at all, and I'll just see something move that hasn't. So it's not my brain animating actual objects, it's me seeing things that aren't there. But yeah, it can be really off-putting, and so there are a lot of times where I'll be having a conversation with someone and I'm suddenly sort of going, what was that? And there's nothing there, but I have to check, because sometimes it is a spider, and I'm definitely not going to ignore one of those. So yeah, I'm really hoping that the insomnia will shift soon, because I am exhausted and I'm done with it now. It's great to have a topic to discuss in a video, but I've now done that, and I would like it to move on, because it's getting really boring, and I'm getting really fed up of not being able to do the stuff I need to do, because everything takes so much longer when you can't think straight and you can't concentrate and you can barely move because you're so tired. And I'm getting quite fed up of being quite so baggy under my eyes and grey. So yeah, hopefully it'll shift soon, and I'll be sure to let you know if it does. But yeah, those of you who suffer from insomnia, I know how awful it is, and I'm really sorry you're going through it, because it's rubbish, and I don't have any tips for making it better, because almost nothing works for mine other than riding it out. So yeah, good luck. But anyway, I'll leave it there. But thank you so much for watching. Please do give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, preferably not with advice, but yeah, do leave me a comment, and do subscribe to my channel. I will be back with more videos of whatever topic. If you have any topics, do suggest them in the comments. I'm always up for ideas. So yes, I will see you soon, hopefully a bit less baggy and tired. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!